Hello, everybody, and welcome to another action-packed episode of Non Sequitur Nerds. And by action-packed, I mean we're going to sit here and complain about stuff. Like always, I am Tim, joined by Ian. How's it going today, Ian?
Doing pretty good today, buddy. How are you?
Pretty good. Just living life and staying inside because I don't like the cold.
It's kind of warming up here now. For those of you that aren't aware, Tim and I are located smack dab in the Midwest, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense geographically speaking, because we're not west of really anything.
Right? I mean, we're
So
we're more east. I mean, if really.
yeah, I guess it just depends on how you define Midwest. But anyway, today's topic is not about geography and the weird idioms that we use to describe geography.
Because I'm
Today
bad at
we're
geography.
actually Right. Today we're actually going to be talking about some of our favorite video game genres and some of the differences between those. Tim and I are very uh, adamant gamers.
We're also
Sorry, I
bad
was
at the English
trying.
language.
Yes, words hard. Uh, we're very adamant gamers. We love games. We've been playing video games for pretty much all of our lives. My
Oh yeah.
first video game system was a Nintendo 64. That's actually, or I'm sorry, Nintendo Entertainment Center, or colloquially known in Japan as the Famicom,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually occupying a tote in my closet and still works. I plug it in about once a year to make sure that it functions, and it does.
Oh, there you go. See, I think for me, like really young, when my parents were still together, we had an Atari, and like I'll still bring that up to my sister sometimes when she was younger, living with mom, dad, and I. Uh, we had it long enough for me to remember having it, but I'd say my first true game system that I actually remember playing was an NES as well. I remember I had one. My uncle at the time lived like an eighth of a mile down the road. So I would, ride my bike or walk down there to go and play Duck Hunt and Mario on that combo cartridge they had of that.
Oh yeah, I have that, and I've got the Duck Hunt gun, and
Yep.
uh, my cousin, who's actually the one that introduced me to video games, because that was his method for babysitting me when I was younger, would be to basically pull out the Nintendo, turn it on, hand me a controller, and he would go take a nap for an hour and a half.
I mean, it worked. You're not dead.
Correct, that you know of.
That is true. You might be some kind of horrible zombie monster, and that would make perfect sense, actually.
Well, I'm a ginger, so I'm dead on the inside.
Very true. Very true.
So, yeah, I mean, but video games have been a big part of our lives for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Tim and I would go and we'd be there for the midnight launches of Halo 2 and Halo 3
Oh man. Yeah.
on, I believe, a Tuesday,
Yep.
which
Or,
was
or
a
Monday night going into Tuesday. So I mean, technically
right, which
Tuesday when it
was
came out.
a school night for us. So we would be at the school, we would be at GameStop or EB Games, depending on which at the time,
Right.
standing in line to pick up our copies of Halo 2 at midnight. We would go back to Tim's place, wind up playing the game until, I don't know, 6 o'clock in the morning.
And then go to school.
Yeah, and then I think we'd sleep for like maybe an hour. Well, I would go to school.
I
You
mean,
would.
I would just continue sleeping.
Correct. So then I would go to school and then come back and, wash, rinse, repeat. Um,
Wake me up and go, Tim, Halo. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
I think
Uh,
the first game that I can remember ever staying up like all night for, and I didn't even like realize I had stayed up all night until my mom, who worked at a factory, got up and went, "Oh, you're up early." Was Final Fantasy VII. I remember I
mm,
got that and I was just so engrossed. Well, no, actually, for I had rented it the first time I stayed up. I remember that because she got mad that I had stayed up all night, and it was like a 3 or 4 day rental. I had had it a day, and she after work went and took it back. She's like, "No, you're not playing this if you're going to be up all night doing this." But I remember, yeah, it was Final Fantasy VII.
nice. Very nice.
Man, that's
Yeah, so
such
I
a good
mean,
game.
It's a fantastic game, and definitely one that I really enjoyed. I think I'd have to go back and boot up my PlayStation 2, which again also still works, uh, and see if my save file is still on the cartridges or not.
Oh yeah.
But you know, we've already non sequitured, but going back to game genres, there's a lot of different game genres that are out there, and then you can talk about the different sub genres and the sub genres, and then the niche genres, and
Right.
the list is endless. But I've noticed as I've aged, my tastes in games have changed, and it's also I think a really situational to your life situation, your life currently at the time. So
Right.
I remember in my younger days in college, Halo 3, playing Halo, playing Halo competitively, well,
Right.
semi competitively, just
Right.
playing online, in PvP modes and whatnot, and so forth. And these days, I'm just like, nah, I'm not really into the PvP games, like,
Right.
because ultimately, I'm not terrible, but I'm decent. But there's still people out there who either don't have jobs or don't have significant others or a combination of thereof, and so they just like literally play these games all day, and they're really good.
Right. Well, I remember, back in the day, I used to work at GameStop, and my assistant manager there, Cass, awesome guy, awesome guy. Um, he and his twin brother actually played Halo semi-professionally. They actually had sponsorships at some point, and I mean, like when he talked, I mean, back in when Halo was super big, it's still big, but back in its height, people all the time would go, "Oh yeah, I'm a pro Halo player. I'm a pro Halo player," and it's like, whatever. Everybody says that. Well, the first time, that I had actually played Halo with them, I'm like, oh, these guys actually mean it. I mean, they were good, to the point where we actually had, I don't even remember what game it was we were launching, but we had a midnight event and we had a beat the pros competition where it was 2-on-2 teams. It was him and his brother versus you and your buddy or whoever, and if you happen to beat them in a best of 3 rounds, we were giving away like $100 gift card. And I
Mm.
don't think anybody actually got the gift card. I don't remember what we ended up doing with it. Um, I think we ended up like splitting the gift card up to like the top two teams that actually got close enough, so that we could at least say, hey, we gave away something. But yeah, I mean, Halo, same thing. Like you were saying, you and I both used to play Halo quite a bit back in the day. Halo, 1 to 3 era. Um, but like anymore, I can't think of the last time that I played a game that is predominantly a shooter. I mean, I've played games with shooting aspects to them, but I can't even think of the last time I touched a shooter. Probably the
I
cl-
like I like shooters. I
mm.
enjoy shooters. Like Destiny and Destiny 2 are some of my favorite games.
Oh yeah,
I
you
mean,
played those a
leave it to
lot.
Bungie to be able to create a really awesome shooter.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it has its problems and whatnot, just like any game.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
meta as you have a game that continues to age and you release more content, the meta changes from here and there and whatnot.
Right.
But one of the biggest things for me is like the PVE aspect of it, and the story is really interesting and engaging to me. It can get repetitive after a while though, because you can only release so much content.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but the PvP aspect of it is something that I do it when I have to, like if
Mhm.
there's in game, like if there's quests to get like gear and stuff like that that you have to complete a PvP component, I'll do it. I generally am annoyed by it and don't like it because I don't have a lot of time to game. I really
Right.
don't. Like I've got I'm a single dad, I've got kids at home. I got 3 kids at home 24/7. I've got a full-time job. I'm also in grad school, you know. So I don't have a lot of time. I don't want to spend that time. I don't want to spend that gaming time that I have, which is really just like a couple of hours during the week getting shot in the face and then getting teabagged by a 13-year-old who's then screaming over his microphone about how he schlepped my mother.
Right.
So, like, it's just not it's not enjoyable to me. Like, don't get me wrong, people that enjoy that kind of stuff, good for you. I have old gaming friends that I still talk to that they play Destiny and they love the PvP. They're all about PvP. They play Fortnite. They play uh, PUBG. They're big on the battle royale type games and the PvP aspects of it. Great, awesome. You guys enjoy that. Have fun. Like I'll do competitive shooters and
Yeah.
stuff like that if I'm in a group with people, but if it's by myself and I just feel like I'm just like kicking myself in the nuts.
I kind of feel the same way. Like anymore, competitive shooters. Like I said, I haven't really played one of those in forever. But if I've got a group of friends that are like, hey, we're all gonna play this. Well, if I have the game, like, yeah, I'll hop on, play with the guys, because it's fun. Because even if you lose, you still got those people. It's like, oh man, can you believe like when I died this time, this happened. Oh, yeah. Oh, did you see that shot you got on that guy? You've got that camaraderie. But when it's just yourself, it's like, well, that sucked, and that's
Yeah, I
that's
mean
that's pretty much it.
by the end of an hour-long session, you're basically flinging explicatives and grunting savagely and ferally like a
I mean,
caveman
that's me
as
most of
you
the time.
well, yes, but it's not as enjoyable to me anymore. So I kind of stick to other more PvE low key type of games. Like I still play World of Warcraft from time to time. Still enjoy it. I've always enjoyed Blizzard's story, the RPG element of it.
Which still surprises
Um,
me that you're still playing that. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that have played since day one and have never stopped. But I mean, that surprises me that you still play that actually.
I don't. I really, and that again, like I just touched on. I really enjoy Blizzard's lore and
Right.
enjoy their mechanics in the game. I think the game is really well done. There are
Hmm.
aspects of it that I don't participate in so much anymore, like crafting. Crafting takes way too much time. So the character that I have currently that I play with is a gatherer. That's literally all that they do. I I I skin hides and I mine for ore and then I sell the raw materials.
Oh, there you
Like
go.
I don't craft anything because it's too much involvement
Right.
and it's way too competitive. People undercut you all the time. There's always a need for raw materials. But anyway, so yeah, I enjoy the game, I enjoy the lore. I don't play it very often. I'll log in for a few hours, maybe once a week and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I I paid for a 6 month sub because I divorced and have have
Oh, did I lose you, Ian? Hello. Yay, technical issues.
and I
Whoopee.
don't have anybody
Oh.
that's gonna yell at me for playing. Yeah?
So you, you
Did
you just randomly cut out, and I'm like, Ian, hello,
that was
and
weird.
then you just came back mid sentence.
Huh, well, that was weird. And I don't see any blips in my connection. I have to call my ISP because it kind of does that occasionally.
Right? Yeah. But no, no,
Anyway,
I get you though. EverQuest 2, back when I played that, see, I'm kind of the opposite. I loved crafting in that, but it's because it was, in my opinion, it was so in depth and detailed. Plus, you could make furniture for your private house, which I love decorating in games.
right.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
I think that kind of leads into the crafting game genre, or crafting is a huge aspect of it.
oh yeah,
Tim and I have been playing Valheim lately.
like everybody
Um,
else.
like everybody else, Valheim is kind of like the winter out of nowhere smash hit game. I think
Yeah,
last I saw it had a 96% on Steam. We are not being paid for any kind of endorsements of this game.
I mean, unless
So
you
this
guys
is
want to
a
pay us, just saying.
right. I mean, I won't say no. Ching. Anyway, so the game's very low key Viking simulator crafting type game.
Right? Yeah.
Very low res graphics, kind of reminiscent of like early N64.
Except for like
Um,
the lighting system, like
yeah,
that's one thing that like it's. I really would love to be able to sit down with the devs of that game and go, okay, why did you go with this aesthetic? 'Cause, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I like it. The low texture, the low quality textures don't bother me at all. I think it actually adds to the game, honestly. But
hmm
the lighting system, it's good. I'm not knocking the lighting system, but it looks so out of place with everything else. It's so detailed and intricate. I love it. I mean, it's a really interesting juxtaposition of art styles. I mean, it's almost like they had one guy working on the character models and the textures, and they had a completely different guy working on the lighting system and put them in two different rooms. And they never talked. But I like it though. It's
right.
a really
Well,
nice aesthetic.
I did a little reading, and
Yeah.
that studio is only 5 people. I
Oh
think it's
yeah.
Iron Gate. It's
Yeah.
Iron Gate Studio. They're a very indie studio out of, the Baltic states. I can't remember if they're Norway or Sweden.
That
Um,
makes sense actually.
yes, no, they're well, the I read an interview with, the studio head whose name is Lars, so
Oh,
surprise, surprise.
okay, he's got my vote then.
Yeah, Viking game by created by Vikings, so
There we go.
whatever. Anyway, but it's a crafting style game. Like there's a story to it. There's combat. There's resource gathering, resource management. But
And
you can
boats.
play the game really however you want to. You don't have to like spend a lot of time on crafting stuff. You could
Yeah.
just like try to plow through it and get the best gear and really move towards the end game content. But I think Tim and I, we like to focus a lot of time on crafting,
Yes.
base building,
Yes.
resource gathering, just these intricate things. And we're pretty early on in the game. We just got to the third biome, and I think we're starting to unlock some more intricate stuff. So once we can unlock the stone crafting, that's where I'm really interested to see some of the
Yes.
crazy stuff that we can build,
I love
because
building
we're kind of
castles.
keeping it low key right now until we can get these, basically build castles.
Yeah. I am incredibly looking forward to that. Although I will say like you and I kind of talked about this when we played yesterday. The first two biomes, all right, yeah, we're badasses. We got this. As soon as we hit the swamps, we died 3 times?
For yeah, it took
Three
so
boats?
we it took 3 boats, and I think yes, 2 we died 2 times because we had to collect our tombstones twice.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and all of our gear, mistakes were made.
Yeah, 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 they
We
were.
learned from said mistakes.
Did we? Did
Uh,
we?
well, depends. Next time we play, will we have learned from said mistakes?
Nope.
So but the crafting aspect of it is really a lot of fun,
Oh,
and I like
absolutely.
I like the immersion component of it. I like the fact that there are multiple things to do besides crafting.
Yeah.
Minecraft to me is kind of boring. Like I
Mhm.
played it for a little while and it was okay. Like it's interesting to see that some of the crazy stuff that people can build, but ultimately I was just like, this is kind of boring. Like because that's all you do is you mine and you craft.
See, and like for me, I'm the opposite because like I really latched on to Minecraft. So I mean, like I did a lot of look into like uh, different ways to build things, different ways to design things, how to use a lot of the in-game items to in unique ways to make new things. I looked a lot into the redstone stuff. I never got good at redstone, but I mean, I looked a lot into it. Like I understand the basics of how it works. I just don't. I haven't devoted the time to sit down and figure stuff out. But see, I like that, but I mean, primarily when I play Minecraft, it's usually with my kids, and it's in creative mode because they love building whatever they feel like building that day. I think my daughter the other day built a giant house uh, that looks like a toilet. I mean, if
Oh,
you know my daughter, Ian, you that's pretty par for the course. Um,
yeah,
but like with
yeah,
Valheim, like I'm enjoying going out and gathering materials up. I'm enjoying taking them back, figuring out okay, well we got this much of X item, we need, this much to build this and this, which do we want to go with first? What's going to be the most beneficial? And like, I mean, you and I actually spent a lot of time like planning, okay, we're going to do this, then this, then this, then this. And we have a game plan. We usually get sidetracked, but at least we have a game plan of we need to accomplish these things in this order. And
right.
it's been a while since I've had a crafting game like that where I've actually put more time into it other than I'm gonna go over there and build a thing. Which
Right.
nothing wrong with that, but I mean, yeah, it's a very. I'm surprised that I've enjoyed it as much as I have. I mean, even
Yeah,
like
and I
even
think
my
you and
wife is
I
getting into it, which was surprising.
right, and I think you and I have very complementing styles that work well that we work well together. Probably something that's attributed to the fact that we've built up this rapport between us for the last 20 years.
Yeah, that might be it.
But, Tim's very much focused on like the crafting aspect of it and the resources and things like that. I'm more focused on the defenses, the base building, the combat, and the exploration aspect of it. So I'm not afraid to like, take the boat take our Viking boat and, well, one of our two now Viking boats,
Yeah.
and go out and just kind of explore. And then I look for resources, and I mark these resources on the map to come back to, then so that we can gather them later. And and so we build these plans, and we try to execute as best we can on these plans. And I think we're kind of formulating a plan now for this new biome to
Yep.
not get waffle
Completely.
stomped.
Yeah. Completely wasted.
Right. So, the crafting style games, to me, are a lot of fun, and they're really enjoyable. My son loves Minecraft. He loves
Oh
Minecraft.
yeah.
But he's also been, I feel like I'm raising my kids right. They're all really into Star Wars and like nerdy stuff. I need to try to get them to watch Lord of the Rings. But I just don't know if they have the attention span for that.
Well, those are long movies. I mean, even a single one it's a long film.
Well, I also have the director's cuts,
Oh,
so
so like the 12-hour version?
yes, yes. Yes, I got that on Prime Day 4 years ago, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Blu-ray too.
Oh, hey,
Um,
not bad.
so my kids are really into Star Wars, so they love playing Star Wars Battlefront 2, the EA Dice game that was released. Not the OG one that came out um, you know,
PS2
10,
era.
15 years ago. Right, PS2 era. But the new one that came out, so they love playing that. They love playing, some of the competitive stuff. But my son's not really all that competitive. Like, he just enjoys the game. Mostly, I
Right.
think what he enjoys is being a Jedi and using force powers to ragdoll physics people off of mountains.
There you go.
Um, it- but they really enjoy those games too. So gaming is not just a central aspect of my life; it's also part of my kids' lives. And so I try to keep an eye on what they play. They've got
Yeah.
Pokemon and Minecraft and Mario Kart, and even my 4-year-old likes playing Battlefront.
Oh, nice.
So
See, and for
yeah.
my kids, it's. I mean, they both obviously love Minecraft. My son plays Fortnite. He's asked me if he's any good at it. But like he still enjoys playing it on a Switch. My daughter plays a lot of the Lego superhero games. Those are she loves Legos. She loves
Hmm.
superheroes.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, yeah, and like they've even came down here like when I'm playing Valheim just to watch me play it, and like my son's like, so it's kind of like Minecraft. I'm like, well, kinda. He goes, well, maybe I'll play it. I'm like, you don't have a computer, bud. Sorry.
Right. Oh, don't get me wrong. My kid, my daughter, my 8-year-old, walked into my office the other day while I was playing Valheim, and she watched for about 30 seconds, and then she kind of looked at me and goes, "Dad, when can I have a computer?" Crap.
Right. Like I do want to here maybe eventually get like maybe a lower tier laptop form, something that they can play a couple games on, but mainly it's for I know with my son going into middle school next year. I know he's going to need a computer to do his work, to type stuff up, things like that. And it's like, maybe it's about time that, they get something that they can at least dink around on, something that if they do fry something in it or mess something up, I'm not going to be out too much. I really
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
I really don't want them to fry my desktop.
if you're looking for something like that where they can basically play app type games, you might look at a Chromebook. They're cheap and relatively reliable,
See, that's
and
one
you
thing
could
I
at
thought
least
about.
teach. You could at least, they can at least learn how to use a keyboard effectively. Because I don't know about you, but my kids, I don't know if they've ever even touched a keyboard. It's all
Well, okay, surprisingly, like, I know we're getting off topic here, but like me living up here in the middle of Amish country, I didn't start taking a typing class until I was at the high school. My kids are already taking typing classes. Like Tara sat down to play, because she plays on my wife's computer sometimes. My daughter, um,
Mhm.
I don't even remember what game it was she was playing, but I'm like, oh, honey, do you need me to type that in for you? And I look over and she's on home row typing it out. I mean, not super fast, but I'm like, where did you learn to do that? And she goes, oh, at school. Like, I'm sorry, what? She's in second grade.
Well, I mean, admittedly, we didn't really have computers weren't
Yeah.
mainstream. I mean, we had computers in our elementary schools, but they were only in the
Well,
libraries.
on the giant with the giant 8-inch floppies. we're
Right, the
we're
8-inch
really showing
floppy.
our age now.
Right. I mean, well, no, it was the 5.5. It was the 5.5
Was it?
floppies.
Well, whatever they. Well, was there bigger than? Was there 8-inch floppies?
There might have been, but I think that may be a topic for a
Right.
different
Yeah.
genre of podcast.
you know, you
Um,
know. But no, like yeah. I mean, to your point, I remember in elementary school. I don't remember what grade I was in, but our class was one of the first ones to have a computer. We had two actually, two or three in the classroom. And like I remember booting up, the original Oregon Trail because it was an
oh yeah.
educational game. Still a fun game, but I remember like putting in the floppy on that and playing Oregon Trail in the classroom. But yeah, like I mean, we didn't have a typing class until I was at the high school.
Well, I remember specifically, and again, we're off topic, but I just want to share this with one factoid before we pop back into it. I remember specifically when I was in ninth grade, I had to take a typing class. It was mandatory as part of the curriculum.
Yep.
That was the first year that it was mandatory, and the seniors that year had to take the class as well. So I was a ninth grader in a class with seniors taking typing classes. Meanwhile, I had a family computer at home for a couple of years at that point.
Right.
So typing was not necessarily an issue for me.
Yeah.
So I would finish much to my teacher's chagrin. I would finish the assignments in like 15 minutes, and she wouldn't have anything lined up because again, she had to teach at a pace for seniors, kids who had not really had computer exposure before.
Right. And
So
to kind of
I
segue.
was I was way ahead of most other people in that class. So I'd finish my assignments within 15 minutes. It was a 55-minute class, I think, 50-minute class.
Right around there.
And and so then I'd be like, so what do I do now? Like, well, you can't go. Have you finished the lesson for today? Yeah. Have you finished? Okay, go to the next lesson. I did. Well, have you done these other lessons? I finished all of the lessons for this week. Oh, well, go play Candy Stand for an hour.
Well, I think to kind of segue back into gaming, I think because I had a very similar experience in my typing class, and I think it relates to the fact that that was during the time when you and I were playing EverQuest a lot. So
Yes.
we got very intimately familiar with how a keyboard works and how to type very quickly.
Well, especially familiar with the WASD keys.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Anybody if you, it's actually interesting. If you look at my keyboard, which is, I got it my sophomore year in college. It is a Microsoft Reclusa keyboard, and it still works perfectly fine. But some of the paint is peeling off of the keys. So the ASDF and the surrounding keys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a little bit of 6, and the Shift and Spacebar keys, which, as anybody that has played computer games knows, that those are the primary keys for things like movement.
Yep. Movement and your actions. Let's see. You've got
Yes.
movement, activate, run, jump, your hotbar. Yeah, yeah. I think you got it all covered there.
Yeah, so the keyboard is running strong. It's served me well, and I'm really kind of reluctant to. I've looked into newer keyboards, but I'm just like, nah, this one works fine. But anyway, so yeah, circling back to the different genres of games, there's the crafting games, and I think Tim, you and I are in the same boat. I love a good RPG.
Yes,
Love
absolutely.
a good RPG, and one of my favorites is absolute favorite, not only RPGs but just game series ever, is the Mass Effect series.
Yeah, but you have always been quite a fan. Like, I mean, I enjoyed them, but like, I think I beat Mass Effect 1, played 2, played 3, played what was the
Andromeda.
Andromeda? Thank you. Like, and I really liked Andromeda, but I think 1 is the only one I've ever actually beaten. But I mean, for me, like, if I'm gonna pay, 60 or well, in some cases now with the new gen system, $70 for a new game, I expect to get more than 4 to 8 hours out of it. I mean, for the price, I mean, like I understand, as games get more complex, new features get added, more complex graphical systems, more intricate gameplay, development costs do go up. You've got to pay somebody to make these things.
Right.
But if I'm paying 60 to 70 bucks for a new game, I want something that I'm not gonna trade in at GameStop or whatnot. the next day. Like,
Yeah, and I think that's the problem when you have games like shooters. So if you have a shooter
right.
that has a story to it, most of them are generally pretty short. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we beat the Halo 2 campaign in a night.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But I mean, but
You know,
like that's one of those games where with the multiplayer aspect to it, that's where you're getting your bang for your buck.
right.
But if you're not into the competitive side of it, it's pretty short. Like, well, case in point, talking about the new gens, the first game I picked up for my PS5 was Spider-Man Miles Morales, which visually is a beautiful game. I was incredibly impressed with that. I beat it in 2 days. And that's not. I'm not talking 48 hours. I'm talking. I played a little bit after work one day. I played a little bit after work the next day, and then I get a message saying you're about to enter the final area of the game. If there's other things you want to do before you get to this, do it because you can't go back. And like I was going to like my mind going into that game was, I'm going to get all the collectibles. I'm going to do all the side missions. I'm going to do this that. The second I saw that message though, I'm like, oh, the story was really short on this, and it kind of killed my drive to want to continue playing that game because in my mind I mean, like I knew it was going to be shorter than the first PlayStation Spider-Man game. I didn't know it was going to be that much shorter.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I still
that's
had fun with it, but I don't think it's a title I'm going to go back to.
yeah, and that's one of those things that's really disappointing. But I mean, with the Mass Effect games, at least with one, I think minimum that it would take to beat the game without doing side quests and shit is, I believe, 18 hours.
I mean, a
Um,
decent chunk of game.
right, so a decent chunk of game. If you add in the side quests and then the DLC, I think if you do 100% completion on the game, it takes about 45 to 50 hours
Yeah. Well,
to beat the game.
see, and I
Um,
think like in relation to RPGs, the side stuff is really what makes it. Like case in point, my wife just recently beat Cyberpunk,
yeah,
and like I mean, she did a lot of the side stuff. I mean, obviously she did more side stuff than she did story. The story is not short, but it's not super long. I mean, that game really shines in just the variety of things there are to do in that world. I think when it was said and done, she had well over 100 hours in that game. Which,
yeah.
I mean, for the $60 sticker price, 100 hours of gameplay, yeah, we definitely got our money's worth out of that. And I mean, she really enjoyed it. She loved the story, and I mean, she loved doing all the side stuff. But I mean, that's her and I have very similar tastes in games. We like games with a long story or something that you can pour time into. I mean,
Right.
you talk to her about the like the Yakuza series, which I mean, she pours anywhere between 30 to 70 hours into each one of those, and she's played all seven of the mainline ones. Well, eight if you count zero, excuse me, all eight of the mainline ones. And I mean, she absolutely, if a new one came out tomorrow, you bet your butt she'd be going out there getting it and putting another, 30 to 70 hours into that game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me, and that's the thing. For me, Mass Effect. So,
Mm.
I mean, if I'm a bit of a completionist whore. I like to try to finish everything that I can, especially
Right.
in a game that I really enjoy doing. So,
Oh, yeah.
like RPGs that I really enjoy doing, I will do all of the side quest crap that I can. Try to do everything.
Right.
So, each of the Mass Effect games steadily got longer as they added more DLC. So, if you assume we'll say 40 hours for one, 50 hours for two, 60 hours for three. Between those three games, that's a lot of time.
Oh, absolutely.
I have also played through each of them probably 3 or 4 times now.
Oh, wow.
So that's a significant time investment.
Oh,
Plus,
absolutely.
Mass Effect 3 also had a PvE multiplayer. It was kind of like firefight mode in Halo,
Yeah.
or horde mode in the Gears of War series. You play with friends against AI controlled enemies, like waves of AI controlled enemies. So that was really
Okay.
fun for me because I didn't have to worry about some jackass gibbing me and then making fun of me because it was a lot of. I didn't have to worry about that. It wasn't true PvP. It was multiplayer.
You were working with the other players.
Correct. And it was squad based. So there, there's 4 people on a team fighting against waves of steadily harder enemies. I poured a lot of time into that. So
Yeah,
I
like
have a
I remember.
significant investment in this series, and so the Mass Effect Legendary Collection that's coming out just has me super pumped because I get to go back and revisit one of my all-time favorite series.
Was he? And I remember when the that multiplayer mode came out. I remember like you talking to me a lot about how much you were enjoying it. I like that shows how much you played it. That I remember you playing it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
But
it's a really fun and enjoyable series, but there's other RPG series out there that I really love playing. The Final Fantasy series is really good. I love 7. It's a classic. I've
oh,
not played the
absolutely.
remake because I haven't owned a PlayStation product since a PS2. I think we
You
covered this before.
yeah you are
Um,
absolutely missing out on that remake. Let me tell you.
I get that, but I can't justify getting a system just to play the one game.
Right.
So I'll hold on for now, but uh, there's that. Final Fantasy. I played Final Fantasy 7. I have 8. I've played some of it. I've played 9. I've beaten 10 several times.
See,
Um,
unpopular
didn't play a.
opinion. Unpopular
I'm sorry.
opinion. Say or as far as the original games go, I liked 8 better than 7. Now, like
That's fair.
the remake I have of 7 I absolutely love, but I liked 8 better than 7. I'm already preparing to get the hate for that one.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not gonna hate on you. Everybody has their own games that they like. So everyone's welcome to enjoy their games. There are games that we've talked about here that I gush on, and other people are gonna be like, "Ah, man, that sucks."
Right.
All right, cool. More power to you. There's games out there that people love that I absolutely hate.
Right. Like I
But
mean, one thing that I think you and I both have in common, games that we don't play, sports games.
yeah,
I mean, you and I have never really been sports guys, in general. Like, okay, there. I take that back. There's one sports game that I play. It's a golf game for the PlayStation called Everybody's Golf. Just something about it, like the aesthetics of it. I like that game. Like, I will actually sit down and play a couple rounds of golf with the kids now and again. That's the only sports game that I really have played. I mean, I've picked up a few of the wrestling games over the years, but apart from that, like, I have never bought an NBA game. I take that back. I bought NBA Live back on the Super Nintendo. But I think
you're on
I
fire
think everybody had that game though, but
from downtown.
it's such a good
Yeah.
game. But
No, I
yeah,
completely
I
agree
don't
with
play
you. And
sports
it's
games.
it's it's not my genre. The most sports games that I have ever played
Hmm.
realistically is Mario sports games, like Mario Golf or
Mario
Mario
Tennis.
Tennis.
Yep. But I mean, and even then, it's like I can't think the last time I played one of those either. I mean, like the new Mario Golf they just announced, like I might pick that up, but I mean, even that's a maybe. But yeah, like just
Right.
that's a genre that I think both of us have just never really gotten into.
I think that also fits into like some of our personality type things. Like again, we have not neither you or I are real big sports ball type people. I didn't watch the Super Bowl this year. I don't think I watched a minute of football. Oh wait, no, that's not true. I was in a room while someone was watching a Notre Dame game a few months ago.
Yeah, I didn't watch the
Uh,
Super Bowl either this year. I mean, mostly because like with my work schedule, it ended after I would have gone to bed, and it's like, I didn't care enough to even bother.
Right. So I mean, sports ball's not really been that big for us. I have
Yeah,
friends that love playing sports games. I got a buddy that plays FIFA all the time.
yeah,
Like just huge, will buy the new version of FIFA every year and whatnot. And that's great. Cool. Enjoy it. Have fun. I'm not gonna buy the game,
yeah,
even if it was to play with you. Like because that's literally the only reason why I would have it is to play with somebody else, and I wouldn't invest in it for that very
yeah,
small amount of time. And this goes back to again, I don't have a lot of time these days, so I
yeah.
have to choose my time wisely and spend the time on things that I enjoy doing.
Right. Like you're not gonna spend that money on something that you'll play, once a month if that, just to play with somebody else. I mean, you don't know anybody that's ever told you to buy a game and never played it with them, Ian. Diablo 3.
Yeah, Diablo 3. By the way, are you getting Diablo 4? Because if you are, then I'm not going to.
I say to fill people in, when Diablo 3 came out, I played the crap out of it, convinced Ian into buying it. We played it together once, and then I stopped playing it. Not because of anything that happened during that. I just stopped playing Diablo. Have
Yes.
now,
Yes.
to be fair, I did pick it up, oh, maybe 2, 3 years ago on the Switch when they released it on that, and the wife and I played the crap out of it, but
Did
we ended up breaking it because I played a necromancer and she played a witch doctor, which are both, pet summoning classes. So we literally just had this wall of minions that would just, take out everything, and like we even kicked it up to the hardest difficulty, and we're still barely even having a challenge. And we one day sat down and went, we broke this, didn't we? Yeah,
Yeah.
we never played it after that because it was literally just making our characters go forward through a dungeon while our minions did all the work for us, and we didn't do anything. So it was like there was no challenge in it to us.
Yeah. I mean, anymore, in all reality, like the biggest thing for me is engaging gameplay
Mhm.
and a story. Like,
Yes.
especially when it comes to like an RPG type game. Like, I love a good story, which again comes back to why I play World of Warcraft. Valheim doesn't really have like a central story to it, but it has engaging gameplay. I
Yes.
mean, it does have a central story to it. It just it's not fleshed out in like cutscenes and things like that. Like you kind of learn about it as you go.
Yeah. Now let me ask you. Okay, you brought up a point there. It has a story, but it's not super engaging. But the gameplay is engaging. Flip side of
Mhm.
that, would you play a game that has a like super in-depth lore and engaging game system, but the gameplay is just crap?
I mean, I played Assassin's Creed 5. What was it? The one in France?
Oh,
Uh,
Liberation? No.
no, 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 no. So it was AC1, AC2, AC3. That was then 4 was
Black Flag.
Black Flag. So yeah, 5. Unity, Unity.
Unity.
Yeah. Um, Unity to me had a lot of problems. The
Mhm.
game was buggy as hell. The protagonist was, pardon my French, a whiny little bitch, and I absolutely could not identify with him. Like
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to like again, it's Assassin's Creed is an RPG style game. Generally has a really good and engaging story. The gameplay is really good for the most part.
Mhm.
That was one of those games that I went, all right, I am doing literally none of the side stuff. I'm going to finish this game so I can get the story and then move on. So I just powered through that game as quickly as I could, and I have not touched it since. I didn't even do the DLCs. Like I was
Oh
just like,
wow.
no, I gotta get away from this guy because the protagonist, I think Arno or
Arno.
something like that.
Yep, Arno.
It's just he is insufferable.
Now, see, I had a very similar experience to that recently. Picked up a more recent game, the Werewolf game, though it came out for last gen and current gen, because I am a
Yep.
huge fan of the World of Darkness tabletop system. I love the lore, I love the setting.
I mean,
Just
you're a big fan of the games. I remember for
yeah,
my birthday back in high school, you gave me a burned copy of Vampire the Masquerade, which I
you
still have
you mean a
that
totally
copy.
legitimate copy?
Yes, and you may or may not have told me the website to go for a CD crack. Um,
But like,
the
so I was super looking forward to playing this because I like the werewolf is. I mean, I love the lore behind that world. So
Yep.
I bought the game. I bought it digitally because I had a credit through PlayStation, and I'm like, you know what? It's cheaper than buying it on disc. So I pre-ordered it through the PlayStation Store. It preloaded, 2 days before it came out. I'm all pumped. I'm all hyped. I boot up the game, and like, going back to Valheim, bad graphics don't mean a game is bad. This game visually looks like something that should have came out in the early days of PS3, which was kind of disappointing. But I'm like, okay, I can overlook bad graphics. And and they started talking. There was some story. I'm like, okay, they're sticking pretty true to the lore of the tabletop game. All right, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And then I started playing the game. And when you think werewolves, Ian, you think like big, hulking, rip 'em ups, horrifying monster, right? Do you
Mhm.
think stealth game when you think of werewolves? Because that's what 90% of this game is sneaking around behind guards whose AI ranges from potato to solid snake, and there is no middle ground to how this AI behaves. There's no rhyme or reason to why one time you can walk and stand right next to a guy staring at the side of his face, and why another time, if you let out a teacup fart from 3 rooms away, they immediately turn on the alarms. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And it's
Hmm.
that just I was so like, and I tried. I'm like, you know what? I bought it digitally. There's nothing I can do about returning it. I'm gonna do it. And I tried sitting through it, and it I haven't touched it in probably 2 weeks. Like I played it the first couple days after it came out, and that's been it. It's still sitting on my hard drive, but it disappointed me that they got the lore so spot on, and like they do a good job of setting up the feel of that world, but then everything else it seems like they just phoned it in, which was a huge disappointment to me. Because I mean, it seemed like it was a game that it looked like it had RPG aspects, it had some stealth aspects, which I like the Assassin's Creed games. I like a game where you can be stealthy, but you can also be take the problem head on, and it looked to be very similar to that. But the majority of this game is just it doesn't know what it wants to be, and that was
Huh.
very disappointing for me.
Well, while you're talking about this, I've just been doing a little bit of looking into it
Uh
and some
huh.
research. So apparently, one of the executive producers on this was Uwe Boll.
Wait, of the werewolf game?
Hmm.
You're okay. I'm not sure if you're saying his name so we can keep up our track record of mentioning him at least once every episode, or are you being serious right now?
I am absolutely not being serious on this game. On this, so I just wanted to throw that out there as kind
Okay,
of a way
okay,
to one
because
keep up our track record and two screw with you a little bit
well,
because
because
I would
honestly,
totally track that anything that man touches becomes a flaming pile of dog crap.
like had that been true, that would have made so much sense. Like
Yeah, I
I
mean, I'm looking
believed it. I believed it.
which is exactly why, because you said how bad this game actually is, so I knew you actually would believe it had I said it. But yeah, it's and those are the kind of things that are really disappointing when you buy a game, especially when you have to order something digitally and then you just can't. You're stuck with it. It's just like,
Yeah.
well, there goes $70.
Well, I mean, especially when it's something that like again, I've talked about the World of Darkness tabletop system. That's one of my favorite systems, and for me to get a chance to play in that world in a more visual medium, I was super stoked for. Like, I mean, there's little things they could have done to improve the game, like and I understand in a lot of story based games you have a preset protagonist, and I like a lot of people are like, oh no, you should be able to make whoever you want. Okay, I agree to a point, but typically in games where you're making a customized protagonist, there's a few exceptions, but typically you've got they don't do as flushed out of stories as opposed to a game like Witcher as an example, where
Right.
it's a preset main character, but that way they can tailor the world to that character. They can give you a more in-depth world. And like Mass Effect, like you've talked about, is kind of an exception to that rule. You make your own Commander Shepard. You get to make choices in that game, and it does mold the world around you. But a lot of games don't do that as well. A lot of games, when you have a custom character, either your character doesn't fit in the world, or you have in your mind how this character should be, but because of how the pre-recorded dialogue is, it's like, oh well, that's not what my character would have done. That's not what my character would have said. But then, like I said, going back to Witcher, you have that flip side of, well, I didn't make this character, but they build the world around them so they feel like they fit. It's their world. You're experiencing it through their eyes. But I mean, with a game like Werewolf, it's a preset main character who, like, in the little time I played with it, I have no emotional attachment to this character. So I mean, because there's so many things that, like I said, they could have done better, and it disappointed me. I was, prior to this game, really excited for the vampire game that's coming out in 40 years. I don't know even. Last I heard, I think it's coming out late this year. But after playing Werewolf, and I know it was done by a different development team, different studio, I'm worried now. I don't know. I'm trying to lower my expectations. But I mean, the vampire does have a track record of good video games, though. So I mean, they do have that going for them. So anyway,
You
that was
mean
my hot take.
And there's Tim's hot take. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, no, I mean it's a good point. Bad games can ruin a series, or one. It takes really just one bad experience to ruin a you know to ruin something for you. So
Right.
I can totally understand that.
Well, I mean, especially being a fan of Mass Effect 3.
Right.
I had to throw that out there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, for those of you that aren't aware, the ending of Mass Effect 3 was much derided and very divisive amongst the community. Not the ending that we were hopeful for. They did eventually release a DLC for it that kind of gave it a better ending. But yeah,
When
it was.
I think there was an article I read when that came out that the way they described it was the endings of Mass Effect 3 are vividly and wildly different in the same way that the three lights on a stoplight are different colors. Or something to
Yeah.
that effect, effectively saying that they're the same thing, just a different shade of color. I mean, not literally, but I mean that was kind of the analogy they gave, is that the endings were so similar that it almost didn't matter which ending you got.
Yeah, I mean it really didn't. There was only some minor narrative differences between the endings. And I mean they could have far-flung ramifications
Uh
to the
huh.
overall universe itself, but this was really supposed to be the final game in the series, so
Right.
it didn't matter. Now that said, they have since BioWare is now working on Mass Effect 4, or another Mass Effect series that is a continuation of this series.
Oh, really?
Yes, so we can cover this at a later time. I don't want to take up too much more time on it, but they are making another Mass Effect game that will be set in Shepard's universe,
Oh,
but
cool.
it's there's still early details. They've only released one trailer at this point, but it we based on the breakdown of things, I'm going to venture a guess that it is set after the end of Mass Effect 3, in some future state, but it's also going to be set within a time frame that is relatively close to the ending of Mass Effect 3. And I say that because one of the main characters, Liara, is in the trailer, and her species can live up to 1,000 years. So based on the power of deduction, it has to be set within at least about 900 years of the ending of Mass Effect 3, because Liara was
Huh.
about 120 in
Okay.
that series.
Huh. I was not aware of that.
Yep. So,
Well, I learned something today.
yes, you did. Anyway, so, I think we're about at time at this point.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about some of our favorite video game genres. Everybody has their favorites.
Yep.
Um, you know, Tim and I are not sports ball guys.
we
We're
we are
not
not.
playing sports. We're not playing sports games. We love RPGs. We love immersion. We love those kind of games. But if those are your kind of games, sports types games, then more power to you. Great, have fun,
Yeah,
enjoy
seriously.
what you enjoy. So
Yes, absolutely.
if anything, I'll leave with kind of this little PSA type message. People enjoy what they enjoy. Don't crap on what they enjoy. You like what you like. They like what they like. Everybody gets to enjoy their games. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the cardinal rule of gaming. Don't be a dick.
Exactly. It really should be the cardinal rule of life, but
Well,
you know,
let's baby steps, Ian. Baby steps.
yeah, exactly. We'll take baby steps here, and hopefully we'll get to that point of we can say just live your life by that simple rule. Don't
There,
be a dick.
there you go. Rules, words to live by.
Exactly.
But oh man, yeah, yeah. I mean, I know we're kind of continuing here, but I mean, gaming is one of those things that it can really bring people together. I mean, kind of getting nostalgic here. I remember many times where there would be, oh, 10 to 15 people in my mom's house, Xboxes hooked up to multiple TVs, LAN cables running throughout the house, playing Halo competitively with one another. And at the end of it, there was always the trash talk at the end of each round, but it was always good natured. And I mean, that just kind of goes to show that you can play a game, you can be the winner, and you can still be good natured about it. So don't be a dick, people.
Exactly.
But
All
anyway,
right, folks.
yeah, we're gonna go ahead and head on out, folks. We've taken up enough of your time for today.
Yep. We thank you for tuning in. I believe it's been a good lesson in games, kind of giving you some insight into what we enjoy. And we hope that you enjoy, you can enjoy games and those kind of things as well. So until next week, folks, we'll go ahead and sign off for now. So for non sequitur nerds, I'm Ian.
And I'm Tim. We'll catch y'all later.
Bye.